What is the K1 visa process? Today I'll be explaining the entire process of how to get your K1 visa. So firstly, what is a K1 visa? A K1 visa is a visa that's granted to the fiancé of a US citizen. Step 1. So the very first step is the United States citizen asking USCIS to recognize their foreign fiancé or fiancée. So how will the US citizen ask USCIS to recognize their fiancé? They will have to file Form I-129F. After they file that form, before they file that form, there are a few requirements or things that's expected of them. So they must have met each other within the past 2 years before filing this petition. And also USCIS will do background checks on both the fiancé and the US citizen. So that's really it. So you would file Form I-29F, submit it to USCIS. They'll do their necessary background checks. You'll have to show proof that you are in a bona fide fiancé relationship with this person. So if USCIS deems that you're in a bona fide fiancé relationship with this person, they will approve your Form I-129F and they'll transfer it to NVC. Now we will jump into step 2. So step 2 is the NVC issues the foreign fiancé or fiancée a case number and sends their petition to the US Embassy or Consulate, where the foreign fiancé will now apply for a K1 visa. So during step 2, after the case is now transferred to NVC, which transfers it to the US Embassy or Consulate that will be handling your case, the Department of State will pretty much notifies the US citizen that the I-129F is approved, and they'll notify the fiancé that their case is there. They will get an NVC account, which they would have to log into and upload additional documents and things like that. They'll now have to go to an interview and everything. After they go through that entire process, they're now granted a K1 visa. What happens after the K1 visa is approved? Now we're going to jump into step 3. So step 3, the K1 non-immigrant visa holder travel to the United States and seek admission by US Customs and Border Patrol. After they enter the United States, they have to get married within the first 90 days of being here. So pretty much they come here on their K1 visa. The K1 visa is valid for no more than 6 months, and they have to get married within the first 90 days of being here. So that's step 3. Step 4. So after they're married, the US citizen spouse will now have to apply for adjustment of status which is Form I-485, to get their permanent resident card. So they have now been married. It's now time to adjust their status, his or her status. After you send that application in, USCIS will do their background checks again on both parties, the US citizen and also the US citizen's spouse. After that entire process, they'll be now granted a green card. We know that immigration can drag their foot sometimes. So for some people, this process will end here. For others, they'll have a next step, because some people will receive a conditional green card, which is only a 2-year green card, while for others, if their case was drawn out and they have passed the 2-year mark, they will receive a 10-year green card and they would not have to adjust their status. So now that's step 4. If unfortunately it took more than 2 years for you to, if it took less than 2 years for you to get your green card, now you have to apply for removal of conditions. So step 5, the conditional permanent residence petition for USCIS to remove conditions from his or her residency. So that's really, if you had gotten a 2-year green card, you would now have to file Form I-751 to remove the conditions from your green card. And then you're through with the process. And once you have your conditions removed, you can now go ahead and file your citizenship.